I am super excited about this one. I got my friend here, Mike Guido from Mini Sport USA. Wah, 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 wah.
Ta-da!
Ta-da! I've been, when I started this podcast or thought I was going to start this, I was like, what should I do? Blah, blah, blah. And you may not know it, but you probably are the single most helpful person that I've had to help me finish my mini. Or at least
Great.
it's, I've somehow stumbled upon you early on, and you've taken my calls and emails and messages and thoroughly helped me throughout my inexperienced knowledge in the early days. So I appreciate that. I just wanted to say that up front.
Well,
So,
thank you for the kind words.
of course, of course. And I see we got a couple minis in the background for those that haven't been watching yet. You should probably start watching because everyone's starting to do some cool minis in the background and everyone's one-upping themselves.
Well, there's a few more, but they're not going to fit all back there. So we kind of converted our back porch years ago. I
Uh-huh.
did the measurements, and it's like if I tear the screening out and put a couple different posts in there, I can get three minis in the back porch. So it's
Easy.
more functional than sitting out there,
There you
than
go.
us sitting out there.
Yeah, right, right. See, they still have seats out there, right? You got the seats in the mini, and it looks like a moke right there. So pop the
That's a
top, get some
Jiminy.
sun. Oh, it is?
Yeah, so that's a fiberglass one.
Oh, wow,
Uh,
super cool.
it's a blast. So it's called a Jiminy, but we only play reggae music in it because we take it to the beach all the time.
Yeah,
So as soon as I paint it, I'm going to do a logo for it and call it a Jaminy.
Gemini.
Yeah,
There
man.
we.
Yeah, man.
I know. I've always wanted, something similar because I lived in Hawaii and hoping to move back, in the near future, I guess. But also Southern California and just cruising PCH in one of those would be super fun.
Yeah, it's hard to beat. What's nice about the Jiminy is, well, A, it's fiberglass,
Yep.
so it doesn't rust. B, it doesn't have the value of a regular moke. So if I want to drill holes in it and mount a sound system in it, I'm not hurting an actual moke. So
Right.
I do whatever I want to it. And the other neat part is it actually uses a standard mini windshield. So it's rounded. It doesn't have that flat
Oh.
moke windshield that creates all kind of buffering and makes
Oh.
all kinds of noise. So it's a lot smoother, lighter, and it doesn't rust. And it's cheap.
Just
So it's
sounds like
everything I
it's
want in a moke.
sounds like it's all just better. Maybe I'll have to pick up one of those.
Good luck finding one.
I know.
I'm getting old. You might see one for sale.
There you go. I feel like every other, I'm at least on. We're going to talk about mini sport here, but you can buy the fiberglass shells and stuff. They don't make, the Moke or Gemini, whatever you say, is shells
Right.
there, right? They don't have them anywhere that
No,
I
they
know of.
they were early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So you just have to find a used one in England. They come up. What's nice about in America is the English don't seem to care a whole lot for kit cars. I mean, they
Yeah.
do, but there's so many of them, you can find them pretty cheap. So we actually bought a GTM Rosa Mark II as well. So it looks like a Porsche 911 in the front,
Yep.
a little squared off in the back,
Okay.
but mini engine in the rear. And that's our two-seater convertible that we go cruise around in.
Super cool.
So we got a few to choose from.
Yeah, there's definitely a market for that here, I think. At least I feel like I would want one. We're going down a rabbit hole early before I even start questions, but what about
Sorry.
those Moke, like electric Moke things? What are like where did they get those bodies? Is that just something completely different? Are they just bigger? I don't really know. I've never even looked into those.
It, we actually saw one yesterday when we went down to the beach.
Uh-huh.
It, from a half mile away, it might look like a moke, but up
Yeah.
close, it's way bigger. The design is different. They've
Yeah.
got, I don't know if that one was electric or not, but they don't go very fast. They,
Right.
d- they don't look like a moke when you get within walking distance to it.
Yeah, that's how I was curious. Yeah, I've never seen obviously a real Moke and the new electric Moke thing side by side, but it looked bigger.
It's
Um,
bigger.
but yeah, maybe that'd be.
It's Chinese.
Ah, there we go. Figured.
Yeah.
Anyways, cool, cool. Well, again, thank you for being on. A pleasure, and I want to jump into it. I've talked to you so many times, and I've followed you on Facebook and your adventures, but I'm really curious of like how you got into minis. Like, how long has it been? What first attracted you to the mini? Like, what started this whole thing?
So when I was a teenager, which was a long time ago, uh, I built a Austin Sprite into a race car when I was in high school. And so I went to my first SCCA driving school to get my racing license. It was at Sebring, and I was going down the back straightaway, and this little tiny box goes blasting past me. And back then, it was before there was sound restrictions, so we used to run like huge open megaphones.
Yeah.
So this thing was just screaming, and the back straight at Sebring's pretty rough. It's just a bunch of cement pads together. So this little square box was dancing, going past me, making all kinds of noise. And I went into the pits and I asked, what the heck was that? And they said, it's a Mini. I said, what's a Mini? They said, same engine, turned sideways. So within a couple of months, I got my first Mini. So that was in 1979. So that's how I got into it.
And this was in Florida?
Yeah, I lived down in Fort Lauderdale. So Sebring and Moroso were my home tracks.
Right.
And then I got the first Mini down in Miami for, I don't know, $800 or something.
Wow. Eh, Was it, so okay, that was the first time you ever saw a mini. After you kind of started getting into minis, was it popular back in the late 70s, early 80s in Florida to have minis,
There
or
weren't,
did you
well,
see
there
them
weren't
that
that
much?
many around. I mean, there
Yeah,
wasn't, well, we didn't have social media or
right.
clubs like we have now. I mean, our club, we've got like 1,400 members in North America that have a classic Mini.
Mm-hmm.
So back then to find parts, I was a teenager. I knew nothing about it. In fact, I thought since it's from England, it must be metric. So I used metric tools on my Sprite race car and my Mini for years. There's, luckily I got Redline imported parts down in Pompano. They became my family and they helped me learn everything about everything English. So that's how it got going. But yeah, now with the internet and everybody's able to help everybody, it's a way different world. It was just I don't know what to do. So I autocrossed the Mini and I road raced the Sprite, and then I also rallied the Mini. So I was trying to get first in class in all three in one year in hopes to go pro racing. So I didn't have the money. I wasn't going through the education way of trying to get into auto racing. So that
Mm-hmm.
was my big thing. And I finished first, and second. And I go to the awards banquet, and only one lady says, wow, you almost finished first in all three. I'm like, well, okay, well, that didn't work. So it was years later that I found a way, but kind of walked into a way to go pro racing.
Tell me about that.
Well, I became a professional clown when we moved up to Melbourne area. And well, this year is my 40th anniversary of driving in the 12 hours of Sebring in a BMW 2002.
Wow.
And when I did that, that's what made me think this is what I got to figure out how to do this professionally. It was a high-speed game of chess. It was the coolness of diving behind a twin turbo Porsche into the hairpin. The flames coming out of the turbo at night were awesome, and the flash bulbs at the hairpin from the photographers 20 feet away. It was just like so cool. So when I became a professional clown, I kind of put clowning and my racing together, and I became the world's fastest clown. So for a couple of years, I dressed in fireproof clown attire uh, on our own, my wife and I, Ronnie, and we well, it's a whole. I'm waiting for the movie to come out. We ended up going $26,000 in debt, spending everything on the drug prevention campaign for kids.
Wow.
So it was Just Say No program. I was like the mascot for the state of Florida, but we were trying to get a factory sponsorship. And after a couple years, we were down at the Miami Grand Prix, the Nissan Grand Prix of Miami, and I was racing a Pontiac Firebird in the IMSA Firehawk series, and they didn't race our class that weekend, but I was on display and handing out coloring books to kids dressed as the clown. Well, then Ronnie comes up and says there was a couple suits looking at the car. So I went over, and it was a couple guys from Nissan. So as a clown, you can do what you want. So they were like shoulder to shoulder. So I spread them apart, put my arms over their shoulders, and said, "I guess I'm driving for Nissan next year." And they said, "Well, let's talk about it." And it's
Whoa.
after all those years, now I'm actually have communication, and uh, so they said, we'll come talk to you tomorrow, which was the race day, and they didn't come by, and they were head of marketing, so obviously they didn't have time to come see me during the race day. So I went down to the pit lane dressed as a clown, and I stood on pit wall because, well, I'm known as a camera whore. I know where all the cameras are. So I stood up on pit wall, and everybody's taking pictures of me. Well, they never showed up that day, but the next day, Monday, when I got on the plane to go back to California, I was the cover of the Miami Herald, and I only spent about $200 to be there, and they spent, I don't know, $1 million for it to be the Nissan Grand Prix of Miami.
All right.
So, and they won the race. So a day later, they called, and they ended up paying off all of our debt even before we signed a contract. So
Wow.
I did 2 years as the world's fastest clown, racing in the Firestone Firehawk Series, which is endurance racing, and international sedan racing, which is sprint racing. So
Wow.
a lot of fun.
That's super interesting because I've obviously seen World's Fastest Clown and all of this, kind of hashtags or whatever it might be, and I've seen you dressed as a clown in a mini, and I think it's on maybe a business card you sent or a sticker or something like it. That wide body red mini is that? Did you race
That's
that as well?
Minisan.
What was that?
That's the that mini is called Minisan. We built it's got a 3-liter Nissan V6 in it, the
I was gonna.
VG30 with
Yeah.
nitrous injection,
Wow.
uh, 5 speed out of a 300ZX, and the whole rear suspension's out of a 240SX, leftover stuff that I had when I raced for Nissan. So that's a
Wow.
whole nother story.
Uh,
So I don't know what stories you want. You just tell me. But
Well,
as
let's.
far as the clown, I'm still doing all the silly clown noses and stuff. We've been
That.
giving out hundreds of clown noses at all the mini events we go to.
Yeah.
So
You
so we've
sent
got
me one.
500 of these packed and ready to go to Italy when I leave next week.
Yeah, I saw the picture and I was laughing. One time, it was like a circlip you sent me, and you put the circlip on the clown nose, like a little nose ring. Had a little note in there. It was hysterical. I love it. Yeah, I want to get into all the mini events and stuff that you go to later as well. But let's just
Okay.
kind of backtrack too. I want to hear about your first mini experience. So you got this mini for $800. How was it? Did you have to do a ton of work to it to get it autocrossing? I think you said in rallying. What you
Well,
were
what I used to
clearly
do
into
was,
cars before, so you kind of knew how to work on them, or you
yeah, I
figured
took
it out.
vocational motorcycle mechanics and automotive while I was in high school.
Hmm.
And my instructor for uh, the motorcycle course, he used to race NASCAR back in the days when NASCAR was really cool. And so he taught me how to port and polish a head and how to build an engine. Even though it was for a car, it was basically a motorcycle engine, right? So
Right. Right.
he taught me all of that. And so then when I got the Mini, since I didn't have much money, I would swap parts back and forth, carburetors or whatever between the race car and the Mini, depending on what was going to happen that weekend. And mainly it was autocross. It was a lot of fun, and I do stupid stuff like well, an autocross down in the Keys actually was with a Sprite called the Bay Bottom Crawl. If you go off, you go into the ocean, literally into the lagoon. So I mounted a snorkel and everything to my helmet, and I've always had fun. So
Yeah. No,
the
that's
clowning
what.
started before I made money clowning.
There you go. There you go. No, that's what it's all about, man. It's having fun, and that's why I was attracted to you at first, and you know what I mean. And because some of these guys get so dogmatic and like purist, and I love my pure stuff, but having fun,
Right.
sending parts with the clown nose, and It's always a good time with you.
Great. Well, I try. So as far as me as a rep for mini sport, I guess I'd be called a salesman, but I'm not a sales guy. I'm I I started it because I wanted to help the mini community,
Mm-hmm.
right? And what I was doing was through our Club Classic Minis United, I was doing group orders with Mini Sport and bringing stuff over, and then we all split the shipping, and then everybody saves a ton of money. And so then when Mini Sport came to me about 12 years ago and wanted me to open up a shop, I said no because I didn't want a really full-time job and all the overhead of a shop. And then they decided to give me, they said, how about if we give you a website? That'll be great. But the idea of me with the website is, I mean, I want to be the guy that I wanted to find for the past 30 years when I needed parts when I was racing or working on my own cars. So that's why I spend so much time with everybody. I've got my three longest phone calls are over 2 hours each with
Wow.
customers.
Wow.
So, and just so people understand, when you open an account on the USA website, which is when you open an account, when you open an account at usa.minisport.com, then I can go into your account and I'm kind of considered a personal shopper because a lot of people don't know what they need. So I can real time throw parts in their cart and go over every part. So like if someone's doing a CV joint, you might as well do the inner boot. You're going to have it all apart, and then I suggest, and then after they get the parts, then they end up calling me and asking me, how do you do it?
How do you do
So,
it?
so my part-time job that I agreed upon so I could still go to the beach has become a full-time job. So but I enjoy it because the classic mini people literally are the best in the world. There's no way I could do this with any other kind of car that I know. Maybe Volkswagen Beetles, old stuff like that would probably be about the same kind of people.
Right.
But I could make a long list, which I won't, of cars and their people that I really couldn't do this with. So,
You kind of hit it on the head there. Is when I first started, when I got my project, obviously I knew I had a laundry list of parts that I needed. I was surfing the web and finding all the places, and obviously I was attracted to USA, USA Mini Sport, and it seemed like it just had everything. And then yeah, I think I emailed a question and you responded, and I quickly realized like, oh, you are the guy. You are Mini Sport USA, and and so it was easy to kind of go back and forth with you. And like you said, you helped me with my shopping cart on the website and fixed it and added stuff that I was missing. And it's
and
always
take
a
stuff out that you don't need.
yes, 100%, 100%, or make better suggestions. And
Right.
or even just being honest. Like if I was trying to buy some sort of fitting, you said, no, dude, just go to the parts store down the street. And I'm like, oh, okay. But you know, I've very thankful for that. And I always, first time, anytime someone has ever says, oh, where should I find this part? I'm like, go to Mike.
And that's why I don't get to go to the beach anymore. So
Sorry, bud.
thank you for that.
Sorry, bud. I,
Well,
I I'll start telling them business hours, and I'll cut it off at like noon or maybe noon Florida
it,
time,
it
so you can hit the
it
beach.
doesn't matter. They call day and night, weekends. And on the weekends, if I get a phone call, I tell everybody, leave a message if it's important because a lot of people are working on their car on the weekend.
Yep.
So I try to take weekends off, but if I listen to a message and some guy's stuck working on it,
Yeah.
obviously I don't want to wait until Monday because he's sitting there waiting for me to reply. So if I'm able, I will call back and go over what he needs to do.
Dang.
So
Good for
I-
you.
am trying to be the guy that I always wanted to answer the call when I called. So, and other note, when I travel, so I leave for 7 weeks, go to England, and then go down to Italy for the IMM. But I still work. So I work every night unless it's the actual event because there's nobody taking my place.
Right.
So I play during the day and then I get to the Airbnb or whatever and I log in and answer emails all night till 1 o'clock and get up the next morning and do it again.
You're a
So,
saint. You're a saint.
well,
So
thank you.
hopefully this
That's
will
that's
get
that's
you.
the hair.
There you go, Jesus hair, huh?
Right? See the ring behind me?
Oh, dun, dun, dun. That's
There
awesome.
it is.
Well, hopefully this will get you business, and then also hopefully it'll let people know that you are a one man show and don't bother you too much. So,
Luckily, it's amazing. Like I said, many customers are the best. When they know that I'm gone, they don't. It's really like my business goes away a little bit, which is fine with me because I want to enjoy my vacation. But they're so polite that I'm just not going to bother him. I'll wait till he gets back.
right,
Where else are you going to find that,
it's
right?
true.
Because in America, I want it now, I want it yesterday, and Amazon delivers tomorrow. Why aren't you?
Yeah,
So
yeah. No, I agree. That's good. So I agree. The mini community is fantastic. So hopefully it'll
that's why we travel.
yeah. I want to jump back into just a little bit about your cars. I know you clearly have a bunch of them, and I think one of the most iconic ones, at least for me, is I believe it's sitting to your back left there with the kind of
The flower.
the flower power one. Tell me about that. Where did that start? How'd that kind of become your icon? And
So
if it's not, let me know. But that's kind of
no,
what I associate you with.
it is, and it's kind of funny because, well, I started Classic Minis United uh, 23 years ago, roughly,
Mm-hmm.
and we started doing events on the East Coast and the mountains uh, about 11 years ago, 12 years ago. Well, the Mini 50, so however long, 14 years ago.
Yeah.
And so sometimes we have a theme at our event. So one year we did a hippie theme. Uh, I decided since I do a lot of the work, I might as well do something that looks like me. So we did a hippie theme, and it was a lot of fun. But I wanted to do a design on the Mini that kind of, I'm a graphic artist by trade, and that's actually
Okay.
what helped create the world's fastest clown. Nissan thought I was already $1 million campaign because of all the press kits and all the design and the logos. So they already thought I had it all.
Oh, that's
Luckily,
awesome.
I was a graphic artist, so it's neat how one thing leads to another. So I wanted to design something on the Mini hippie-ish that kind of matched me, but not be over the top. So I came up with just that basic yellow flower on the side of the Mini. So we did that event, and then before I went to England the next time, I thought, well, we've got a red MPI over there. I printed up another kit. So I put it on our Mini over in England. So we drive it around through Europe, and then people are asking me, do you take it back and forth? Because I actually take pictures of the one here, so I clock the flowers exactly. So they are perfect duplicates. And it's Mini World magazine. I do stories for Mini World. So the car is in a lot of stories. So the car has become somewhat well known with that image of the flower or flowers on it. So in fact, people you'll see on Facebook spotted on the M whatever because it's obviously me and people take pictures of it. It's kind of cool that it's become that big of a thing. So last thing on that, we just bought a couple years ago because England's getting a lot hotter now, and we bought a Japanese spec with air,
Oh,
an
awesome.
an SPI, and it's red with a white roof. And it's not like I go searching for the cars that color, but they're all red. And so last time over, which was last year, I brought over another decal kit, and both of them look identical, except the center of the flower. This one's orange. The new one is green, and that's the only difference.
That's how you can
So
tell them apart, right?
yeah, that's it. So
That's
that's
cool.
how that started.
That's cool. I want to jump in then too, because I saw, I forget when it's later this year, the CMU. It's excuse me, new one's coming with a rockabilly theme. I want to kind of talk about classic Mini United, how it kind of started, because I think from my brief research, it was I'm not sure if you started it was a Florida club and then it just kind of spread, right?
Damn, you're good. Yeah, it
I
was
try. I try.
Classic Minis of Florida, and we started it when the BMW came out, and
Okay.
uh, so we were the first classic only club, and suddenly people from all around the world were joining Classic Minis of Florida. And it's like, okay, well, this is bigger than Florida. So then we came up with Classic Minis United, and we obviously are still classic only. You can come in your BMW and park it, and then hop in a classic and enjoy it, and then go buy a classic and be a part of the club.
Yeah, right.
So it's the event itself. So we've gone to events throughout Europe, Mexico, just got back from Jamaica. Our event is different than anywhere I've ever been. I've kind of based it on the best of my favorite thing of every event. And what we do that a lot of other places don't do is we drive a lot. So we're a driving club. So we have 3 days of drives. We have two driving groups, touring and spirited, because we're trying to evolve. We found out everybody doesn't want to go the same speed. Some people just want to relax and look at things.
Right.
That's not the spirited group. So we created the touring group. In fact, side note, with my Turbo Mini and a couple other guys, Jason Pig, uh, we now have what we kind of call the super spirited, where we go out front and then we wait for everybody else to show up later. So the 3 days of driving, we don't do car shows. We already know what everybody's Mini looks like, so we
Right.
don't waste time staring at each other's cars. It's always based at a KOA because we don't like hanging out in a hotel parking lot. But we do have a host hotel, cheap host hotel. We don't do it to where you have to spend normally more than $75 a night. So we have the set formula that has been awesome. So this year, the Mini 64, we have a rockabilly band coming. So our theme is going to be mods, rockers, minis. So people will be dressed in as mods or rockers, and we are going to have an awesome concert with this amazing rockabilly band. And before them, they're called the Mighty Flea Circus, and if you Google them, they won an international song contest a year ago. They're amazing. And then another group called Hairpiece is a duo that plays 60s acoustic music.
Oh,
So they're going
cool.
to open while we're doing our Hot Wheels racing, our silent auction, our swap meet. We have a whole bunch of things going on. It's like a huge party. It's a family reunion. So
Where
it,
can people find out about this? Is it what are the dates and all of that? Obviously, you could
it,
probably go on to
yeah.
classicminisunited.com or
Well,
is it
before I leave in a couple days, I'm going to update the website.
awesome?
So the website is classicminis.org.
Gotcha.
And when you go to that, you'll see the icon on the front page for Mini 64. And then when I get back in a couple of months, then we'll have the registration and stuff up. But you can still book the hotel and the KOA. It's October 4th through 8th. So mark it down. If you like to drive your Mini, there's nothing like it. I mean, it's a blast.
It's in Virginia or
Withville, Virginia. We've been
gotcha.
there a couple times. The KOA there is amazing. The people are great. They've become like our family. So we're going to go back this year. There are so many roads. Everybody says, "Oh, you're going to go do the Dragon." I call it the drag on. If you get behind a slower car, it's
Right.
double yellow for the whole time. You're
Yep.
sitting there. And if you go over the double yellow, there's cops, there's cameras. We go to areas that there's no lines, there's no houses, there's nobody. And some places we go, the speed limit might be 45 miles an hour.
Wow.
Well, some of these corners, good luck doing 45. So even my Turbo Mini with the sticky 032Rs,
Right.
it's hanging on for dear life. And I'm going to darn well try to do 45 around this hairpin. So it's a blast. We aren't a club. We aren't hoodlums that go in neighborhoods or wherever there's people and go fast. We abide by all speed limits unless we're somewhere that it's not even a real road per se. And
Right.
then it's fun. So I keep trying to improve the brakes on my Turbo Mini. So I'm thinking of doing our 7.9 vintage kit.
There we
Even if I
go.
have to buy new rims and everything, I for our next event, I think as I'm getting older, I'm missing the old racing days. So the faster you go, the better brakes you have to have.
Yeah. When's the last time
So
you actually raced?
the last race was Road Atlanta, probably about 6 or 7 years ago. And some Yahoo put me into the wall. It was the biggest accident I've ever been in.
Oh
And
shit.
it's like, oh, this is stupid.
Yeah.
So it the cost to go when we ran the 12 hours of Sebring and the BMW, I I wasn't part of the budget, but I would bet it might have been $4,000 to do the 12 hours of Sebring. We did the entire 12 hours on one set of tires.
Wow.
Okay. Now, after Nissan pulled out of racing and we moved on, just to go amateur racing, not to knock the rich people, because I guess if you got it, flaunt it, but they'll change their tires every weekend, where I would go a season with tires in amateur racing, and these guys would have a second on me every lap, depending on the track, just because of tires.
Right.
They're doing the line all wrong. They're not that great as a driver, but they're going to beat me because of the cha-ching.
Right. Right.
So, uh, so when I was around Nissan days, it would cost about $4,000, $5,000 to rent a ride in a car for an enduro for a weekend. Now that's up to $35,000. Okay, so for me to go racing anymore, it doesn't make any sense. We can go on my 7 week trip for a fraction of going to a regional race. So,
Mm-hmm.
we spend our money going traveling, seeing many people, you
Yeah.
know. And if we're not going to Europe, we'll do Jamaica, we'll do Mexico, two families that we've just become a part of.
Yeah, let's
So
jump into that. You mentioned it, and I wanted to bring it up. You recently got back from Jamaica, and it looked odd. I mean, it seems like you know everywhere that there's minis and the mini community everywhere. How did you find this? Is it through mini sport? Is it just from traveling and seeking these people out? Is it from Classic Minis United? How did you find all of these places and many people in the community? And it seems awesome.
all of the above. But for Jamaica, I've got a few customers down there. We started going to Jamaica 37 years ago. Well, actually, I've been going over 40 years. But
Wow.
we had our honeymoon. It'll be 37 years. No, oh, it's 36 this year. Thank you, Ronnie.
Hey,
Uh,
get Ronnie in here, man. She's a part
hey,
of
Ronnie, can you say hi?
this. Come on in here.
This is my wonderful wife, Ronnie. Say
Hi.
Sorry,
hi.
my screen's to the left, so that's why I was looking here.
Oh,
Hi, guys.
hi.
So she's the better half. But
I feel you.
so we went to Ocho Rios for our honeymoon, and we've gone back quite a few times, and we have kind of family down there. And so I was on the phone with a customer, and when I say customer, they're really everybody's a friend, but I got him through Minisport. So I was chatting with him, and he was asking about me doing something, and I said, "Well, let me work on it in a couple days because tomorrow's my birthday." And he's like, "No, man, tomorrow's my birthday." I said, "When's your birthday?" He goes, "January 27th." I'm like, "No, man, that's my birthday." And he says, "No matter. That's how I get along so good with you. That's all makes all the sense because of right."
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so I'm like, you know what? Next year we need to come down there and celebrate our birthday together. No way. Well, about a month and a half before my birthday this year, it's like, oh crap, my birthday's coming up. So I contacted him. I said, we're coming down. And then there's a Jamaica mini classic mini Jamaica WhatsApp page. So I put on there coming down. So they put on two events for us to come down to go to. So, and then on that page, I started meeting people that I didn't know yet all around the island. So we set up stops for every day to go meet everybody. And it was awesome. Side note, if you read my stories in Mini World magazine, I do like 7 page travel stories. Uh, we don't go to a resort, can't afford it, but we get a rental car and we do back roads and we see what it's like to be in these countries and meet real people. We don't do tourist areas. We don't do major cities. Someone the other day said, "How many times you been to London?" I said, "We've driven past it 5 times. Never been to London." I Nothing against London. It's just a big city. I would rather go through these little towns and villages in England and meet real people. Not that Londoners aren't real people, but to get the
I get
feel
you.
of what England is like.
Right.
So we went down to Jamaica this time, and I asked our friend, which is like family, Duke, that has been doing carvings forever. And Ronnie, grab that one. And he's been doing these carvings, these Jamaican angels out of lignum vitae, which is a hardwood.
Oh wow.
And so I asked him, grab that other one. I asked him if he would do a mini for me. So I did shots of our flower mini from every angle
Uh-huh.
and sent it to him. And wait, this one's my favorite. This guy is so talented. I've tried for many years to get him to be able to come
Whoa.
to the U.S. Look at this thing.
Wow.
So they used to make boat propellers out of these
Wow.
because the wood is that hard. So I asked him if he would do a mini. I'll make the story short. He did, and because he gave me this runaround that the wood split, and he had me freaked out because I'm
Uh-huh.
thinking, oh, I want this for the mini world story
Right,
because
right,
it's going to be awesome because I know how good he is.
right.
So are you ready?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Ta-da!
What?
Look at this thing.
What? That's all out of wood?
Yes. Look
Incredible.
at
It's
the
got the
detail.
flowers on it and everything. Holy moly. Wow.
I couldn't look at it long enough. He works at a he's got his own place at one of the falls, and so we went on the falls, came back, and I had to go open our rental car to look at it again. And uh, I mean, the guy is awesome. So I've got the only mini in the world that is such a detail wood carving.
That's
So,
incredible.
Duke, if you see this, which you will, I'll send you this. Thank you very much. I mean, he is awesome.
That's
So,
incredible.
and the other people we met, it's family, and everybody's like, man, why didn't you tell me when you were coming? You stay with us. We've got this, we've got that. No, man, don't get the rental car. We've got the mini for you. So, side note with the rental car, on the first 3 days, we had to replace 2 tires.
Nice.
So the roads from the north to the south, if you go inland anywhere, the roads aren't that great. And but the outside road is beautiful because that's where all the tourists go, not us. We go where we got it. We see everybody, and it's great. And the same thing with Mexico. People are like, "Aren't you worried? Aren't you scared?" No, we don't go to areas where we hear it could be bad. Mexico has become our other family. When we went there last year, our friend, we went to his house to stay, and Alex, he's like the man of minis of all of Mexico. There's a big sign on the door, "Welcome home, Ronnie and Mike," and that's
Oh,
the
wow.
feeling you get in these other countries, same as Europe and everywhere. It's it's amazing. It's so that's that.
No, I
Jamaica was
love
great.
I love that. I love following. You seem to post relatively frequently updated pictures and little stories like that, and it's really fun to follow for sure. And I'm excited to see your upcoming trip here. And when's the IMM in Italy? That's in this trip or is it later on?
Yeah. So this trip, I go over. Minisport picks me up. Uh, I go get in the MPI because the weather's still cool, so no air conditioning. And
Gotcha.
then I'm going to go down to the Riviera run down in Cornwall, one of our favorite ones over there. It's on the south coast. It's beautiful. It's at a campground, and they do a couple drives. So I'm going to go there for a week because I decided I'm going to try something new to where a couple days I might not have to do anything but a little bit of work at night. So I'm going to try something new and relax. Because when we travel,
A lot.
you just keep going. So after
Right.
that, I go back to mini sport for about a week, and then I head down. I'll take the Channel, and then I pick Ronnie up in Switzerland. And a couple of our friends locally here, they're flying over to Switzerland as well. They'll get a rental car, but we'll be in our open roof MPI, and we'll spend 4 nights in Switzerland. And then we'll head down to Italy for a week to do the IMM. And it's going to be great because due to COVID, we haven't seen all of our friends in well, like 3 years.
Yeah.
3 years? 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So last one was 2019
Yeah.
in England, and so this is going to be a blast, a big family reunion. So that's why we have so many clown noses. And you want to hear a story on the clown nose?
Yeah.
So the clown nose on the inside, well, this year it's dedicated to Patty Hopkirk. So for those of you that don't know, Patty passed away last year, and Patty has an amazing guy. For someone, it's the English, well, the UK, he's Irish, but it's the UK-ish proper old school nice gentleman, and that's what he was. The nicest guy you would ever meet. The fame didn't go to his head, right? He was just very nice. So each year when I would go over there, he's great friends with Minisport. We carry his product line.
Yep.
And the first time I met him was actually 10 years ago in Italy. And I asked my boss, Chris, Patty was signing his book. So I said, hey, can I go over and get a picture with him? And he goes, yeah, I've already warned him about you. I'm like, okay. So I go around the table. So I'm behind, and and Patty's signing. I say, excuse me, Patty, can I get a picture with you? And he's like, oh yeah. So he stands up, and I said, I used to race for Nissan. I was known as the world's fastest clown. And would you do me a favor and put on a clown nose for a picture? And he gave me this look. He's like, okay. So he puts the nose on, and I big hug and big smile, and he's smiling, and I get my picture. Then he starts asking about my racing. And I said, well, I drove in 12 hours of Sebring in 83. And he goes, oh, I drove in the 12 hours. He picks up his book and he starts thumbing through to try to find pictures. My boss Chris comes over, and he's like, what are you doing? The line's getting longer. So Chris is thumbing through, and we're all trying to find pictures so Patty would be happy. So long story short, with every year, Patty, I'd have him put on a different clown nose. So red was Italy. Then in Ireland, he put on a green nose, and I got a nice pose with him. And then in 2019, for the Mini 60, he put on a blue nose. So I've got these great pictures of him
Right.
wearing these noses. So I wanted to dedicate these to him. So I did a thing called Mini Legends and Guido. The and Guido is because I'm in the picture and I'm not at that status. So side note, last year I was at Himley Hall and with Mike Price, and he says, do you want to go meet John Rhodes? And I said, what do you mean? And he goes, do you want to go meet him? I said, I don't understand the question. He goes, well, you can go to his house after this. And I said, smoking John Rhodes? He goes, yeah. I'm like, how is this happening? He goes, I've been friends with him for a long time. So it's like, okay. So we go over and we spent, I don't know, an hour and a half with John Rhodes. The guy is amazing. Same proper gentleman, the typical way. So he was obviously around when Patty was around, and they used to share rides together in endurance races.
Okay.
In fact, he said one of the races, they decided he would start the race because on cold tires, smoking John Rhodes is good with not sticky tires. Right?
Okay.
Have you seen his pictures? Every picture, the tires are just lit up going around corners.
Yeah, some iconic pictures from him for sure.
That's the guy. So I said, so how did that race go? He goes, not very well. I crashed on the first lap. I'm
Oh
like, oh
no.
my gosh. I said, well, how did Patty take it? He says, oh, he was fine. He was kind of happy. He said, let's go to the pub. Not a big deal. Let's go to the pub.
Uh,
So not that there's a competition between the two guys, but I mentioned to him because I'm like honored to meet John, and I'm like, so I got pictures of Patty with clown noses each year, and he goes, well, I'll put one on, and I'm like, really? He goes, yeah, and his wife is like, oh no no, don't do that, and I'm like, he goes, yes, I'm doing that. So I got a picture of him last year with a blue clown nose and our traditional tada that is now going through Mexico and Jamaica as we speak, everywhere we go, and got a picture of him with the clown nose. So they're my featured guys that when you open this up, there are these trading cards inside. And the trading cards have the three pictures with Patty and one with John. And uh, bringing about 500 of them to the IMM. And what one more quick story with them was this is my Patty Hopkirk rocker racer
oh, that's
that
super
Patty
cool.
signed about 7 or 8 years ago. And I was telling John about it,
Uh-huh.
and John says, well, he'd like to see one. So I go out to the car and get one, and I come back in, and it's this one. It's my latest, greatest rocker racer.
Look at that.
And so I said, would you sign this? Because Patty signed one. Well, he's like, oh, yes. I said, because this one's faster than the Patty Hopkirk racer. So he
Oh,
was thrilled to sign the one that's faster than Patty's. Patty's is only slower because that was the first one I built. And
right,
this is the
right.
new state of the art
Made
rocker
some
cover racer.
made some modifications to the new ones.
It just, well, that's a whole another story, rocker cover racing at IMM.
Yeah.
So go ahead. I just, you can tell I just keep going on left and
No,
right. So
I
keep me
love it.
down to center.
I love the stories. These are the stories that I like people to hear, and it's super fun. Well, outside of all that, is there any other projects you got going on? Any other events or anything that you want people to know about, or that I don't know about?
Basically, we
We kind of hit it
travel
all, I think.
and I work. The CMU event, we do it every year and a half. So some
Okay.
people say, well, maybe I'll make the next one. It's like, well, you're gonna have to wait a year and a half. We
Yeah.
do it in April or October. It's
Okay.
either fall when it's gorgeous or it's spring when it's gorgeous. We
All
don't do it in
right.
the summer when it's hot. And so I'll be working on that while I'm gone. And then, of course, have it done for when I get back. And then the traveling is is really the plus of being with mini sport
Yeah.
because I get to meet so many people and that creates the travel. And like friends from Mexico, they'll be going to the IMM. So it's neat that people that I meet all over uh, end up at the IMM. And we've got friends in probably every country in Europe. And they always invite us to stay with them. And then they show us around their area. So we get these guided tours everywhere we go. The
Awesome.
furthest we've gone was Lithuania.
Oh wow.
So I
Hey, we got a
picked up,
couple Lithuanian listeners on here, so
I probably met them. Uh, the that that one was so Ronnie only gets 2 to 3 weeks off work. So for that one, I met her in Germany, picked her up there, and then we went up through Denmark and Sweden and down to Lithuania. And then since we were there, we figured we might as well go to Latvia just to tick off another country.
wow.
And that was one of our favorite. Well, all of them are great, but what was neat about that, the Lithuanians, not so we've been to 22 countries and we've met a lot of people in every country, well, not every country, but the main ones. And the Lithuanians and the Mexicans are like tied for first uh, for the overall experience, niceness. All of Europe and England, everybody's super nice, but they're like even one step above with family, with honesty. It's just amazing. So that was like a eye-opening experience, and we I did 5,500 miles. We
Wow.
went down through Poland. We uh, We it was a huge trip,
Wow.
and nothing beats a trip over there than being in a classic Mini. So if you fly over and you rent a car, it's going to be cool, but you're not going to feel like you were there in the 60s,
Yeah.
right? So even
Yeah.
though our Mini is a 2000, driving over there with the roof open, like when we were in Switzerland 10 years or 8 years ago, uh, roof open in the Swiss Alps, it's freezing out, roof open, heater on, windows up, and just looking out the roof going, how did we get here? So every country we go in, we always have that moment of how did we get here? Because we're not even middle class citizens here. We're poor, but that's a whole nother story. Never had kids, paid off our house 20 years ago. So we just spend our fun money on travel.
There you go. No, that's kind of the idea of my wife and I, and that's kind of what we plan to do. So hopefully we'll
Well,
follow
good.
in your footsteps with a lot of mini stuff and all these kind of events. But Mike, I don't know if you've listened to too many of the episodes, but I do have a little end here that I call the Patty Probe in honor of Patty Hopkirk. And
Oh,
it's just, kind of a few questions here and there. You can rapid fire them, you can elaborate, but you down to do the Patty Probe?
oh, for Patty, I'll do anything.
I figured. First question: what is your favorite mini variant?
Oh my gosh.
They're not easy questions, I'll tell you
Well,
that.
it'd have to be well, because we don't have one. Ronnie would say it's a pickup. It's the
Okay.
one that we don't have. So I guess in honor of Ronnie and Patty, two very important people, the pickup.
That was Patty's favorite, the pickup?
No, no, I'm just this is
Oh,
the Patty
oh, oh,
question, and it's the Ronnie answer.
okay, all right. I'll take that. That's a good one. That's a good one. Um, Here's one. How many minis do you currently own, or how many have you owned? Do you even know?
I think it's nine currently, and I don't think I've ever sold one. No.
I
Well,
can see how that happens.
I traded one to get the Jiminy, so that
Okay.
was a wash. But so there's the two in England. There's huh? Well, my original Mini that I got in '79,
Uh huh.
that ended up becoming Minisan, the V6 Mini.
Oh, okay.
So that's a wash. So I'll say nine.
All right. All right.
Ronnie thinks it's 10. I don't
N-
know.
9, 10. Well, we'll go with Ronnie because wife. I
We'll
would
have to
tr-
look.
I would trust my wife over my counting as well. So.
Yeah, I'll have to look. I'll have to look. Well, I just passed my birthday. I count every year when it comes to tag time,
Right. Right.
right? It's like, oh crap. So, okay, go ahead.
So I haven't asked this question too often, but I definitely need to ask you this as professional clown and Minnie. How many people, or is there a weirdest thing have you fit in your Mini?
The weirdest thing,
Weirdest, or
or
like how many people, or there's like something big that you hauled around or something like that. I feel like a clown
well,
car. Did you have like 37 people in there or something?
no, it. Well, it's funny because people always have that question of how many clowns will fit in there. And,
Right.
but
Right.
when so we do this, we've done this thing at our CMU event that we have friends that come from Australia,
Okay.
and we give them the furthest traveled award, and it's huge. I gave them one of the Minisan trophies. It's like 5.5 feet tall, wide, and when you take it apart, it's about 100 pieces. And then
Right.
we added more stuff to it. So that kind of got out that we do this thing. So our good friend Aiden in Ireland, when we went and did IMM Ireland, the day that everybody left, he gave us this folding chair, this beautiful folding chair that had three minis painted on it, and his club signed it, and he gave it to me like, "Here you go. Have fun getting back to England," right? Because it won't fit in the car. And
Right.
it's like, oh, I won't say what I said to him, but it because many people were all having fun together. So luckily, Andy and Emma, you might have heard of them, from England. They were still there. They hadn't left yet, and they got a
Uh-huh.
motorhome. So they
Okay.
took it back to England, and it worked out good because we were actually stopping by a Pato Banton, my favorite reggae guy. He was doing a concert. He always performs in the U.S. I see him every year here in Sebastian, but he was actually performing in England, which is very rare, where we were going to drive past. So he got us backstage passes. We went and saw him, and then went and saw Emma and Andy, and they gave us the chair. So we had the open roof mini, so we had to drive about an hour and a half to the next event with the mini chair sticking out of the roof. And then from that event, Mini Sport was there, and then they took it back, and then they shipped it back to me. And then Aiden and his family were coming on holiday. Yeah, my stories aren't short.
That's okay.
his They were coming on holiday to Orlando, which we always tell all the mini people, if you're coming to Orlando, let us know. And so in the morning before they got here, we practiced to where I strapped the chair on the top of the roll cage of the Jiminy, right? And then we would drive around the side of the house when they pulled up, and I would be on the chair to show that it made it all the way from Ireland home, right? So we practiced it once and it worked. So we staged the Jiminy back behind the house. They pull up. I climb on top and I'm sitting on top of it. And Ronnie starts going in the side of our house. It's got kind of the yard has kind of a big side shape to it,
A little slope or
angle.
something. Okay.
Yeah, slope. So as we're driving, as she's driving nice and slow,
Oh no.
the whole thing collapsed underneath me.
Oh
So
no.
we're in the front yard and I'm hanging on to the roll cage and the chair is just like it wasn't broken. It's just the rivets all came out. And they get out of the car and they look at me like, because they couldn't even see the chair. They just see this idiot hanging on to the top of the roll cage. So I've rebuilt it and it's a wonderful chair, but that's the kind of
Oh,
stuff we do.
there we
So
go. That's a good
there you
answer.
go. There's a story to everything. That's why I said I'm just going to wait to see my movie come out and then all the things I've done.
There we go. As it'll be a multi-part series probably.
I just don't know who will play me.
Yeah, that's a Patty Probe question maybe. A series, Honda swap, or other.
So obviously
Okay.
A series. I don't know which was the first one you listed. So A series.
Yep.
But as far as swaps, like I did the rear wheel drive V6,
Right.
it's got tons of horsepower. So for the guys that are putting these Hondas up front, it doesn't quite work right. You're not going to get the power to the ground. With the rear wheel drive Mini, with all that torque, and with me in Mini Son, it's 50-50 weight balance.
Wow.
Uh, it's got a race clutch in it, so it's like an on-off switch.
Mm-hmm.
And when you slam the gears, it doesn't chirp tires because it only weighs about 1,800 pounds. It
Wow.
snaps your neck. So where if somebody with their 250 horsepower Honda, weight transfers to the rear and they're just spinning their tires. So if I was to do a Honda swap, it would be rear wheel drive Honda. Uh, but the problem with that is there's no weight in the front. So unless you put like a 100-pound ballast lead weight in the front, you don't have the handling.
Mm.
So Minisan to me is the ultimate Mini because the balance, the weight transfer, the handling, everything. So A series would be my favorite because although I do silly stuff, I'm still more of a traditional guy because I'm getting old, got old,
I like that answer. I like that
am old.
answer. All right. If you could have a drink, coffee, beer, tea with one mini celeb, who would it be?
You mean past or living?
Anybody, yeah.
Well, with that in mind, it'd have to be Patty because it's kind of like you don't know when it's going to happen, so
Yeah.
you don't ask questions. It's almost like my mom passed away 3 years ago, and I'd give up my house to have a day with her.
Right.
So, it would definitely be Patty. I mean, he's the guy that put Minnie on the map.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so, and it's the Patty question. So I didn't have to, but it'd be Patty.
I agree. I agree. Mike, a pleasure. I don't want to take too much more of your time, but maybe we'll have you on again later down the road. I appreciate you so much for being on. Thank you
I
so
appreciate
much.
you inviting me.
I had a lot of fun.
I, I was invited. I made it. Yay!
You've made it to mini life. Let's
I made it to
go.
mini life. I finally have a mini life. So, yeah, I appreciate it. And anything you ever need, let me know. And anybody listening, let me know. I mean, I'm North, Central, and South America. And thanks to Google, there's Google Translator.
Yes, sir.
So spend half the time like, oh, crap, and translate and go, oh, okay, I know what he wants. And I go into the shopping cart and throw it in there.
Bingo,
So,
bango, bongo. Awesome.
yeah, it's great. But I really appreciate you inviting me.
Of course, of course. All right, guys. I will catch you on the next one.
Bye.
Ta-da!
Ta-da!